what worked and what didn't. He lived with practitioners who succeeded and with others who failed. The solution he offers is not easy. It's not a magic bullet. It can't be set up overnight, and it won't yield results, if indeed it does, in the span of one news cycle or 100 news cycles. Further, man's vision does not follow conventional notions and will not be promulgated via the conventional chain of command. In many ways, it is a threat to the conventional chain of command. Scott Mann calls this vision a game changer. Its implementation starts at the bottom, not at the top. It draws its power from indigenous elements on the ground, from we the people, if you will, and expands incrementally up the food chain. In tradecraft terms, it calls for what one Special Forces officer describes as warfare at the PhD level. In policy terms, it demands less in blood and treasure, but far more in individual and force-wide commitment, understanding, and depth of purpose. Bottom up, not top down. Get in and get surrounded. Meet them where they are. Tell a story that sticks. These principles have been tried, and they work. They have worked in the real world, in the worst places that America and allied warriors have fought. More important, in my view, the approach articulated in these pages represents a wholly original way of looking at America's role in the world, and a doable program for countering the dangerous and constantly mutating threats the United States faces and will face in the future. These game-changer doctrines are not taught at West Point. Not yet, anyway. Maybe soon. Maybe sooner than we can imagine. Stephen Pressfield.
Preface. Far better is it to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy nor suffer much, because they live in a gray twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. Theodore Roosevelt. Al-Qa'ida killed my Ranger buddy Cliff on September 11, 2001 in the Pentagon. I spent the next 9 years mindlessly avenging his death. I woke up just in time. I made plenty of mistakes in what was called the global war on terror. As a Green Beret, I should have known better. We are supposed to be masters of counterinsurgency. Many of the mistakes were based on the emotional impact the initial terror attacks had on me and those around me. We were all pissed. Cliff's death and the death of all those thousands of Americans at the hands of al-Qaeda caused me to forget who I was for a while. I was an active participant in a special operations-led manhunt. Our goal was to put as many al-Qaeda and Taliban scalps on the barn as possible. I got my share of scalps. We all wanted revenge, and we got it in spades. But it didn't work. My transformation began in January 2010 during my third and final combat tour in Afghanistan. It was because of a program known as Village Stability Operations, or VSO. This was a local approach to defeating violent extremists implemented late in the war. It quickly had dramatic effects at all levels. Like many unconventional initiatives, our senior leaders overloved it and killed it before it could take root, as I will explain in Chapter 4. When I realized we were not learning from these fleeting lessons as we scurried out of Afghanistan, only to plunge into Syria and other conflicts with the same attrition-minded approach, I decided to write this book. When Special Operations started this local stability program, my job was to help implement the program in new areas of Afghanistan, build strategic support for it at home and abroad, and share best practices with all relevant parties. There were a lot of them. This role connected me to thousands of people across a wide range of stability disciplines. I was surprised to learn that many of these people were not connected, although they were looking at the same problems. Today, this stability network ranges from tribal militias across the special operations community, throughout the U.S. interagency, and in U.S. universities specializing in critical topics such as dispute resolution, negotiations, and low-tech agriculture. Game Changers is as much about that collaborative network as it is about the violent extremists we are trying to defeat.